Welcome to the studio. I'm Michelle, and you are with Color Me Happy Fiber Art Studio. And this is episode 6, I think. Wow, have we been doing this 6 months? That's amazing. Anyway, welcome. Normally, Linda is sitting next to me, but she is not here today. It's near the end of the month in March, and we both have had some travel this month, so it was difficult to get us both in the studio at the same time to do the filming. So I've got some videos from her that I will put in so that you can hear from both of us about what's going on and what we're excited about, our finished objects, and what's in our project bags. It's Fiber Festival season for us, and I just love going to fiber festivals. As a participant, they're so much fun. I usually go to Maryland Sheep and Wool with my daughter every year. We've done that the past couple of years, and we're going again this year with my stepmom as well. Since Linda and I have started Color Me Happy, we've been going as vendors as well. And so our first one coming up this season is Greencastle Wool Show. And that is April 12th and 13th of 2024, in case you are watching this sometime in the future. But I love going to the wool festivals because there's so many people like us, like you, who love yarn, love fiber, love the animals that help bring the fiber to us. And it's just so much fun to be around people who are just as excited about all things yarn and fiber. And for us, it's a lot of fun. We don't have really a regular storefront, so we sometimes have those open studio sessions or crafternoons where people can come over. But for us, unless we're doing a pop-up shop or going to a wool festival, we don't see a lot of the people who work with our yarns. And so it's always fun to see people again and to see what they've done and what they're working on and what they're excited about. So I just love that. But it's also kind of a crazy time for us. So you might see behind us, we've got stuff hanging up everywhere. It doesn't look all neat and clean right now. We did a whole bunch of inventory this week and getting everything out to label it and package it and all of those things. So the next 2 weeks will be kind of hectic leading up to the festival, but then it's just going to be so much fun. So that's what I'm excited about.
Hello, this is Linda from Color Me Happy, and as you've heard, this month we couldn't get it together to be in the same place at the same time. So today I'm going to share some of my things that I'm excited about and what's in my project bag from what we like to call Color Me Happy, the farm. I live about 10 minutes away from the studio, so not far at all. And we have about 9 acres here. We have bees. And we grow some of our flowers here for Color Me Happy. And that is one of the things I'm excited about because it is definitely well into dye garden season, and I love to garden. And so the madder bed that we have here, which is a perennial plant, that's coming up, and I'll be starting the 3rd madder bed this year because madder takes 3 years to mature enough till you can get the nice orange and red colors out of it. So I have it divided up into 3 different beds. So starting this fall, we'll be able to harvest in one and leave the other 2 go. So I'm excited about that. And we're also starting some of our own plants from seed. That's really the most sustainable way to grow plants and the most cost effective as well. So we'll show you a picture of our seedlings of Coreopsis and marigold that we have started here over at Color Me Happy, the farm. So I am excited about the dye garden over at the studio in our raised beds. Our weld is coming up really well. We're excited about that harvest this year, which will be our first time to harvest weld. And some of our Coreopsis plants at the studio are also perennial and are returning, and so we're excited about that. So it looks like it's going to be a good year so far in the dye garden. Another thing that I'm really excited about is the launch of a new yarn base. And that's always an exciting time for a dye studio. We work really hard to figure out what bases our collaborators and our friends would like to knit with, and try to figure out where we can find that. And so one thing that was missing from our bases was a lace weight yarn. And so we found a lace weight merino, untreated merino, pure merino, and silk combination that we really liked. And we have dyed that up in some lovely spring colors for you. We're calling that Color Me Happy Gossamer, our Gossamer line. And so we'll be launching that in just 2 weeks at the Greencastle Wool Show. But when we launch a new yarn, we think about what season we're launching it in, and we think about what people will be likely to make out of it. And that helps us kind of think about what sorts of colors or variations that we want to do. And for the lace weight, we think that most people will be knitting shawls, and that's really the intention, is to have a really nice lightweight project to carry with you in the warmer months as a project, and also to use in the warmer months. Lace weight shawls can be really great for those cool summer evenings, or if you're going out to eat in the summer and you go from a warm afternoon or early evening into a cool restaurant. So we think that those lightweight, airy shawls will be the most likely thing people will make. And so we decided to do all of our colors so far in this colorway as solids and not as variegateds. So we also asked what people felt about lace weight knitting, whether they liked it, they hated it, or they were intimidated by it. And the majority response on that poll that we did on social media was that people were intimidated by it. So another idea that we have is to do a knit along in the month of May. This gives you a chance to see the yarn at Greencastle Wool Show if you want to come out and squeeze it, or take a look at the colors online, and then join us in a knit along. And we've picked 2 shawls. We will actually have samples of both if you want to come see those, and we'll be posting those online in the next couple of weeks leading up to the knit along. Or you can, of course, pick whatever pattern you like, but we have 2 that we can at least help guide you through, and we intentionally chose them as simple patterns. They don't involve increasing and decreasing and more complicated lace weight knitting that is beautiful but requires you to really pay attention to every row to make sure that the pattern comes out as intended. So these are rectangular shawls with a repeating row pattern. So I think they'll be doable for anyone. And if you are interested but a little bit nervous, you can join us for the knit along. We'll have more details about that later. There'll be both an in-person and an online option for those of you who don't live close to us in Fishers. So I thought I would show you, I think we shared some of our swatches last time. Whenever we are trying to decide what to knit, we do swatching. We thought about designing our own shawl pattern, but then the reality of time hit and we decided not to do that. But I did some swatches of a peachy colorway that we have. Those are here. But the real thing I'm going to show you is the finished shawl that I did. So let me turn the camera around and I'll show you a picture of that. Okay, here it is. This is the Beinglas shawl. Beinglas is a mountain in Scotland. And it's a really lovely shawl that has a repeating pattern of 2 different lace structures. I'm going to come down to the place where I don't have it doubled over so you can see those. So this is one of the lace patterns, which is a really lovely kind of starburst or almost floral looking section where we have 3 rows of that. And then there's another row of just simple drop stitches and yarn overs to create the second lace pattern. And then those 2 lace patterns are just repeated. And what I did to spice it up just a little bit is added some beads that you can see here in the garter stitch bands between those 3 sections of the sort of starburst lace pattern. So thought that just might give it a little extra flair. It's a very long scarf, as you can see. Here I had to double it over to block it because it was just too long for my table. As written in the pattern, it's supposed to be 72 inches long. Mine turned out to be more like 88 inches long, so I could have done one less repeat, I think. But nonetheless, I think it's going to be really pretty. And you can see here, it's just so light and delicate. It'll be really nice and give you just a little bit of warmth, but not too hot in those summer months. And I'm really excited about getting to wear that and getting to show it to you up on our mannequin in the studio.
So what's in our dye pots? Well, a lot of things have been on our dye pots. You can see some of it hanging up back here. For each festival or pop-up show, we try to bring something special or something new. So this past month, we've been working a lot on our flaxen base, which is alpaca, linen, silk. It's kind of a light base. Well, the whole pack is here, but it's a really lightweight one. It's great for spring and summer. And so we tried to get a whole bunch of new colors this year, and I'm really excited about those. But I've been really studying copper. As we talked about last month, that has been an ongoing thing that I've been really interested in. And have had some experiments or some recipes that didn't come out quite like I thought they would. And so really trying to understand what's going on with the copper as a premordant. The premordant, or pre being before you add any color, so the mordant you put on first helps the color adhere. And often we use alum, potassium aluminum sulfate. That is the primary premordant we use. That's used in pickling, and it doesn't add color to your fibers. Molecule. Copper is another metal salt that can be used to help the dye molecules adhere to the protein fibers. And you can have copper acetate that you can make yourself with copper pennies or copper pipe, and you add a little bit of vinegar and let it sit for a while, and that develops a blue kind of a blue solution that you can use to premordant. You can also use copper sulfate, which comes in little crystals that you dissolve, and you can use that as a premordant as well. And copper, when it goes on, it has kind of a light aqua color. So that becomes sort of the base color. And then your dye molecules will adhere to that, but that aqua is in there. And so it changes the colors from when you're using alum as a premordant, for example. So if you want alum as a premordant and you add something yellow, your resulting yarn will be yellow, like a weld or a goldenrod, for example. With copper as a premordant, it starts off kind of an aqua color, and then if you add weld or goldenrod, those pure bright yellows, those come together and make a really lovely green. And I believe, yes, we have some back here, this asparagus color. Oops. This color is from taking copper as your premordant and adding some weld, and in this case, pomegranate. Sometimes weld gives you a really neon green or bright green. So I have one of those over here. This is a fun color. I call it spring because it just jumps out at you, but this is pretty bright. And this is a little toned down, just slightly, by adding some pomegranate to it. So anyway, I'll be showing you an experiment with copper and really starting at the beginning and trying to understand how much copper do we need. Copper can be toxic to humans and animals, and so you don't want to drink it. We wear gloves when we're working with it. And the form that we're using it comes in those crystals. And so when you work with those, a little dust can come up. And so we wear masks until you get it in solution. And once it's in water, it's okay. You don't have to wear a mask once it's in water. When we first started, we got some consultation about the safe usage of copper and how to dispose of it, and just making sure that it was okay for us to be using it here. So we are very careful. We want to use the least amount possible, and we also want to try to reuse it. And so once you've mordanted your fibers, is there enough copper left to do another batch? And so that's what those sets of experiments were about. When using copper as a premordant, we had read that vinegar would help. And so we wanted to see what kind of effect vinegar would have in addition to how much we needed and whether we could reuse it. So this is the little card setting up our experiment. We had several conditions, low versus high amounts of copper, adding vinegar to the copper or not. And then within each of those, we reused the copper 2 more times to see what effect that would have. We used the same amounts of merino nylon fiber in each of the jars, and that made it easy to have that many different conditions. So even at the premordant level, we can see some differences before we even tried to dye it. On the left, as expected, the lower levels of copper had less color on them than the higher levels of copper on the right, and the vinegar was not quite as straightforward. The bottom row that had the vinegar seemed more consistent across the different usages of the copper, whereas the top row showed really dark levels of copper the first time you used it, but each successive time of using it again made it lighter, whereas on the bottom row, they're much more similar across. So at least at the premordant level, with the coloring of the copper, it looks like vinegar helps copper be more consistent if you're going to reuse it. The next photo shows the fiber after we dyed it with cochineal. The right-hand side that had more copper as a premordant has darker colors of purple, as we might expect. But again, the vinegar is a little unusual. For the lower amounts of copper, the ones on the left, vinegar really does make a difference in terms of being more consistent. So what did we learn? 1, my experiments are too complicated and I need to just try to manipulate one variable at a time. But overall, we learned that a higher intensity of copper as a premordant does make your colors darker, but it wasn't a huge amount, and so we sort of split the difference, and we use around 3% weight of fiber when we use copper. The vinegar did seem to make the uptake of copper more consistent across the exhaust baths. Without vinegar, that first bath seemed to result in a much darker color, especially at the lower copper concentration. Later, we did do a light fast test, and they were all equally light fast, but cochineal tends to be pretty light fast itself. So stay tuned for when we do some light fast tests with logwood, which is not as light fast. Another thing I wanted to share in this episode is a new collaboration. And we have talked about how we're very interested in the whole fiber shed movements that are happening and really wanting to help support something like that locally. And our dream has always been to work with local farmers who are raising their own fiber animals and to have that wool and fiber spun into yarn that we could dye locally. And so one of our collaborators has an alpaca farm. So Beth and Tim Sheets, we went to visit them last month. And so I have a little segment from the trip Linda and I took, and I will insert that here. Here we are going on a fiber adventure. And you're coming along with us. We're so excited.
We're going to see some beautiful alpaca.
Yay. We'll be right back. Here we are with Tim and Beth from Heritage Farm Alpacas. And I want you to meet them.
We're so excited to have you guys come, and we're going to show you our Airbnb places and our alpacas and talk to you a little bit about our yarn that we have from the alpacas.
Great. We're so excited to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you. It's a beautiful day to be outside.
It is.
But that's one of my babies right out there. He's looking for his mama. Where's my mama?
The darker one.
No, this light one.
Oh.
And see the gray one that's kind of walking the fence
Yes.
there? That's his mama.
That's his mama. Oh.
Oh, and I see him looking
Yeah.
at her.
It's like,
She's
where's,
looking
He's
at
saying,
him.
I see
where's
you.
my mom? So most of our males are on this side, except this middle pin is our young males.
Okay.
And then these are females that are breeding, and some of those are older females. We have a few that are bred back there, but most of them, when we breed them, come to this side.
So you keep about 4 or 5 different areas?
Yeah, and we try to rotate because we can
for the
rotate them
grass.
there or over here. Yeah, because in the summer it can get real short in the grass. This is a log house that we just purchased, and we're getting it ready to become our next Airbnb house. It's called the River Birch. But you can come on, we'll come look at it.
Okay. And how old is the log cabin, did you say?
This log house is about 50 years old.
Okay.
We have another log house that I'll show you in a few minutes, and it's from the mid-1800s. And then our house that we live in is also a mid-1800 federal style house that has walnut trim in it.
Ooh.
And I've lived there since I was 2 years old. So we moved there. Cabin that was moved here about 34 years ago. And my mom worked so hard on stripping it was a 2-story farmhouse that they just learned it was a log cabin, so they stripped it. And we had to take all the lath work off. Tim built doors. We had the deck and the porches put on. And then a few years ago, we did some work upstairs. And then this last year, we just had it re-chinked and re-sealed and everything again.
Beautiful. So people can rent this whole house.
Yep. So when we do have weddings, if they're most of the ceremonies have been right out here in front of the arches, and we have Amish benches that you put there, and we can seat 150 to 200 without bringing in extra chairs. And stuff. And this is what this looks like in here.
Nice. Oh, look at the weaving.
I was imagining sitting around and knitting by the fire
Yeah.
right here.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Oh, how pretty.
That's a real old one.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
You can kind of feel the 50-50.
This is the Shetland?
Shetland Surrey blend. I mean, can you just feel it has the best characteristics of both of those.
You can feel the bounce, but it's also silky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's gorgeous.
That's gorgeous.
So we do a lot with her in that.
And she's where?
She's just over by Rossville,
yeah.
kind of.
What is in my project bag? Well, one thing that is still in my project bag that I thought would be a finished object by now, but it is not, is the lovely Artist Shawl by Natasha Hornby. And the reason it is not off my needles is the bind off is lovely, but very, very time consuming. It's a 7-stitch I-cord bind off. So I'm going to lift that shawl up and show you what it looks like. My knitting needle was stuck on the floor, so now I am going to lift that up and show you what that shawl and what the bind off looks like. I am very happy with the way this turned out. This was done in our pure merino, non-superwash, regionally sourced superfine merino sport weight. And the colors were all naturally dyed from tree products. I was interested in sort of giving myself that design challenge. And so here's the shawl. It's got these really beautiful mosaic sections through here, just a little bit of Colorworks bands in a couple places, and then a waffle texture. I'm actually holding it upside down. It'll be the other way. But you can see the bind off here. You do it with double pointed needles, but it's a big shawl, so it needs a hefty I-cord edge. And here you can see it does have a really hefty I-cord edge. I've just gone around the point of that, which means I am more than halfway done. Yay! But working on this little by little, and then when I get tired of doing the 7-stitch I-cord bind off, I go to something else that's in my project bag. But I sincerely hope that by next month's video, this will be a finished object and we can show it off in all its glory. I have really enjoyed knitting this shawl and will be looking forward. It's super warm and squishy, and the pure merino that was spun by Red Hill Fiber here in Indiana is just lovely for that project. I have another thing in my project bag right now. Not surprising, it is something that I have had in my project bag many times because it is the Tumbling Triangles baby blanket. My nephews just keep having new little ones that they're adding to their family, which is really exciting. And we designed the Tumbling Triangles baby blanket to work with 2 skeins of our merino cashmere nylon DK weight. That's our superwash line, which is really handy for baby items, of course, because they can be washed easily. I'll hold up that. It actually matches what I'm wearing today because this is one of my favorite colors, but this is our moss colorway. That's the green. It will end up having a solid moss triangle that'll go in between these two. And then this other color that we did, I'm really happy about because it has a really special meaning for us. It is a very neutral, slightly variegated yarn. And I did the base dye with birch bark that is from birch trees that grow outside my parents' house on their farm in northern Indiana. And then the variegations come from marigolds that I grew and from walnuts that we foraged at our property and at the studio. So it's really special for a little baby to have something that's naturally dyed that comes from land that their family lives on here in Indiana. So really a nice heritage moment, and I'm really happy with how those 2 colors have come out. And if you like that pattern or you want to try it, it is a free pattern. You just have to go to our website and you can download the pattern for free. And if you do use it, we would love to see pictures of it. We love to see all the color combinations that people come up with, because it's such a nice pattern that lends itself to whatever kinds of colors the nursery might be in, or maybe a favorite sports team, or whatever you can dream up. So we look forward to seeing those.
I have a finished object, Ava cardigan, and this is not blocked yet, so it's kind of pulling in, but I did just get it off the needles last week, and then I was traveling, and so I came back here, so I haven't had time to block it yet. But I wanted to share it with you because I'm so excited. I just love this. Last month I showed you, and it's the Eva cardigan by Petite Knit. Did I say Petite Knit? I'm not sure if I did, but I'm going to put it down in the show notes, and I'll have it down below too. So last time we were together, we had those, I tried it on and I had the big sleeves, and I was so worried because it was huge, but it turned out fine. I just think it's great. So she's a little underdressed for early spring. She's ready for summer now. And I don't really have great sleeves on to show you this, but it is the most snuggly of snuggly sweaters. I made it from pure merino and Surrey alpaca, Surrey silk. So together it's just like a big snuggly hug. I just love it. I wanted to follow the directions. I am always messing with patterns, and I am sorry to all the designers out there. I love the patterns, and then I think, oh, what if I did this to it, or what if I did that? So after the big discussion last month with Linda and trying to think about my sleeves, I thought I should just knit this to pattern. I just need to follow the directions and do what she says. So I started doing that, and I realized, one, my arms are shorter than a lot of other people's. And I really like the long cuffs. I think that they're really cool. But I realized I was going to run out of fiber yarn, and that I had dyed all this, especially just for this sweater. So I'm going to put some pictures in of that too, because that was fun, trying to think about which color did I want the pure merino and which color did I want the Surrey silk, because I wanted them to be different. They'll take dyes differently anyway. So even if I had used the same dye materials, they would look kind of different. But I did use slightly different recipes, so you would have more of the marled look. Anyway, trying to match natural dyes from one dye pot to another is not easy, even with the same dye materials. So if you're buying, and with any indie dyer really, you can't guarantee that you're going to have the same colors. And so often indie dyers will recommend that you alternate skeins to make sure that there's no huge differences. You know, if you're knitting with one skein or crocheting with one and switch, you could have a color difference. With this, I was not worried about that because I'm marling it anyway, so I did not alternate skeins. But I only had 4 skeins of the pure merino in this color. And when I saw how low I was getting when I had to pick up for the ribbing at the bottom, I knew I wasn't going to make it with that. So what I did was, when I got to about an inch, a little more than an inch, I guess, I started weighing how many grams would it take for me to get all the way around to one row. And once I figured that out, I could calculate, well, No, it was two things. So first I had to measure that. I weighed it after each row of knitting. I did this a couple of rows just to make sure. But I knew I was going to have to pick up around the neckband as well. And the neckband is a little bit longer than the body band. I remember like I laid it all out to kind of see. So I had to not only calculate what I would need around the bottom and being able to bind off and pick up around the sides and knit to approximately the same length. I got close. It's not exact, but it's pretty close. But this is smaller, it's narrower than the petite knit pattern really is. It's more, I think it's like 4 inches. So this is a little bit shorter than what the pattern says. And then my hems are definitely shorter. So I'll stand up so you can see. It's just so much fun. I just love it. I don't know how this is looking, and this may not make it into the video, but just so you could see. The other modification I made, I never close my cardigans, ever. I just like to have them on for comfort and snuggliness. So I did not put the buttons on and make a button band. So that's the other modification I did. But I love this. I love the pattern. I think if I were doing it again for me, I might knit one size smaller. I do like big oversized things, but I almost always make my sweaters a little too big. So I'd probably go down a size, but I would definitely knit this again. It was a lot of fun. And it is so warm, I am taking it off. So that is my finished object for this month. So excited. I am not really a designer. I think we talked about that last time, but I still have that shawl in my head that I want to make with the colors from the desert springtime. And last time I had one of the corners. So what I was doing, I would start the beginning part of the shawl and then save the sample and then write little notes to myself about what it was I was doing. So now I have several of these. And I really liked this one to be kind of the purple flowers in the distance. And I put like a little I-cord on there. So I liked that one a lot. I think I was worried that it was a little tight though. Yeah, that was the size 7 needle. And then what's the one I ended up? Yeah, this one is just slightly more open. And so to me, that looked better. I like having that slightly more open look. So it would look more like chunks of purple and gray in the distance. Okay, I don't know if that's showing up right. Anyway, I really liked that. So then I started swatching for different parts of the shawl. If I wanted to do some little easy yarn overs and things like that. So that's what I'm doing now. This is a very slow process for me, but I thought it might be fun to show you that I try things out, I make detailed notes, I adapt, I try them again, and we'll see where this goes. Maybe at an upcoming fiber show, I will take a design class. That would be a lot of fun. Okay, so that's one thing in my project bags. And I have a lot of things going, but the main thing I've been working on after I finished my sweater this week, I cast on right away a new project. And this is the Amrin shawl by Joji Locatelli. I just love her designs. And I'm not very far along yet, but you can see it has like the little lacy patterns. Aren't those so cute? I just love that. Anyway, this is in our pure merino. So it's very springy, non-superwash. So it's very light and soft, and I love it. So this shawl will just kind of keep going, and then every so often there'll be this band of lace in there. And this will block out later. It's the increases don't happen during the lace. So it looks a little funny now, but I'm pretty sure it's going to block out. See how you can kind of pull it and see. Anyway, I had started it. I had gotten almost this far, and something had happened where I had gotten off. I took it to knitting group. That's what it was. I took it to knitting group, and I started it at knitting group. That was fine. But when I got to this section, I just could not carry on multiple conversations and make my lace section right. So I got through the lace section and then realized something is off on my stitches. And so I just didn't increase in a row that I was supposed to increase, and kept going. And it just kept bothering me. And if something is bothering you, you should just go back and think back or frog it, or because you're just going to keep thinking about it. And that's what I did. So I ended up unraveling about this much on the airplane. I'm sure the guy next to me thought I was a little bit bananas. But then I knitted it right back up again, so it's pretty fast. Anyway, that's what's in my project bag. Oh, I didn't say what my project bag was. This is Cottontail Farm project bag, and I got this last month at the Carolina Fiber Fest. Yeah, the Carolina Fiber Fest. I was there with my cousin Allison and in Raleigh. And I went twice to Little Cottontail because I just love her bags. They're so well made and they're just beautiful. They're so cute. Anyway, I love this one because it is the perfect size for one skein kind of project. And you can kind of snug it, let it hang from your wrist, and walk and knit at the same time. So it's perfect for me. I love when I go on walks to knit at the same time. So that is the extra cute little project bag. All right, so now you know what's in our project bags, what's in your project bag. And we love to hear from you. So we'll see you next time. Bye.